Hey everyone. Remember how you were saying you wanted to explore some kind of like less touristy places?
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving into unexpected cuisine.
Ooh, I like that.
These are places that you might not think of as like culinary hotspots. But trust me, they're going to totally change how you think about food and travel. So get ready to take some notes because this deep dive is going to take your taste buds on a serious adventure.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so first stop, the mountains of northern Vietnam.
Okay.
Now, when you think about remote mountain villages, you don't usually think like gourmet food, right?
Right.
But this region is a total exception.
It is. It really is.
Mhm.
Northern Vietnam, especially the area around Sapa, is home to some amazing indigenous groups like the Kach Hmong and the Dao people.
Yeah.
And their cuisine is so fascinating. It's like this
Mhm.
window into their world,
Hmm.
with ingredients you just won't find anywhere else.
I was reading about those mountain mushrooms. They sound incredible.
Oh, they are. The flavors are just out of this world. And the way they prepare them is just as interesting. Many dishes are cooked over open fires or in these traditional clay ovens. So it adds this smoky, earthy depth to the food.
It's amazing how they create such complex flavors using simple techniques, the kind that have been passed down for generations.
Exactly. It's really about respecting those traditions and the connection to the land.
And I hear that one of the best ways to experience this is by doing a homestay with a local family.
Oh, for sure. Imagine cooking alongside families who have been perfecting these recipes for centuries. You wouldn't just be tasting the food, you'd be immersing yourself in their culture and their way of life.
That sounds incredible.
Mm.
I was reading about this dish called thang ko, which is a horse meat stew.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
you ever tried that?
I have. It's definitely an experience.
Is that something that most travelers would be open to, or is it?
It depends. It's considered a delicacy in the region, but it might not be for everyone. It's traditionally made with horse meat and offal and this blend of local spices. It's really interesting, though, because it has these deep roots in Hmong history. You see, horses played a vital role in their lives. Transportation, agriculture, everything. And Thang Ko was a way to honor the animal and use every part of it. So yeah, if you're feeling adventurous and you want a taste of their history, I'd say go for it.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, from the mountains of Vietnam, let's head to an island known for its stunning scenery, but also a surprisingly vibrant food scene, Tasmania.
Tasmania. It's a place that often surprises people with its food.
Yeah.
Most people go there for the pristine nature, the incredible landscapes, but they come back raving about the food.
What's so special about the food scene there?
It's all about fresh, seasonal, sustainable ingredients. The island has incredibly fertile land and some of the cleanest waters you'll find, so it creates this perfect environment for both farming and fishing.
It's all about that farm-to-table experience then.
Absolutely. You have places like the Freycinet Marine Farm where you can literally taste oysters that were just pulled from the ocean, or the Agrarian Kitchen, which focuses on slow food and using local produce.
Yeah.
They even have their own farm where they grow a lot of their ingredients.
That sounds amazing. Okay, speaking of sensory experiences, let's transport ourselves to Fez, Morocco. I can already smell those spices.
Oh, Fez. It truly overwhelms your senses in the best possible way. And the food is no exception. Moroccan cuisine is known for its incredible blend of spices, those tender, slow-cooked meats, and this perfect balance of sweet and savory in almost every dish.
So I have to ask about this dish Bastilla, which I read about. It's like a pigeon pie.
Stilla. It's in a league of its own. It's layers of this paper-thin, crispy pastry filled with tender pigeon meat almonds and this spice blend that's both sweet and savory, cinnamon, saffron, and more. And then they dust it with powdered sugar. So you get this incredible contrast of textures and flavors.
I'm sold. What about tagines? I feel
Hmm.
like those are a must-try in Morocco.
Oh, definitely. Tijanes are iconic for a reason. The conical shape of that clay pot traps steam, so it creates these incredibly tender meats and vegetables, all infused with those fragrant spices and that rich sauce.
Mm. And for those who really want to dive into Moroccan cooking, I hear that Fez is known for its cooking classes.
It is. Imagine learning to prepare these dishes in a traditional riad with its beautiful courtyard. You wouldn't just master the recipes, you'd gain a deeper understanding of Moroccan culture and techniques.
I love that. Okay, next up, we're heading to a region that blends two distinct culinary worlds. South Tyrol, Italy.
South Tyrol. It's where the Italian Alps meet the Mediterranean. So you get this really interesting fusion of Italian and Austrian influences.
So what does that translate to in terms of the food?
You get this mix of alpine heartiness, think cheesy, comforting dishes with that touch of Mediterranean freshness you find in Italian cuisine.
What kind of dishes should we be looking out for?
Well, you have to try Schlitzkropfen, which are these little half-moon dumplings filled with spinach and ricotta cheese, often served with a sage butter sauce. So comforting, especially after a day of exploring the mountains.
And what about speck? Is that a big thing in South Tyrol?
Speck is everywhere. It's this smoked and cured ham, similar to prosciutto, but with a more intense, smoky flavor. Usually served thinly sliced with crusty bread, local cheeses, and pickled vegetables.
Sounds delicious. Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Breathtaking landscapes and equally amazing food. Speaking of stunning locations paired with incredible cuisine, our next destination is Georgia.
Georgia. It's a country with such a rich history and culture, and that's reflected in the food. It sits at this crossroads of so many cultures. So Georgian cuisine blends Persian, Mediterranean, and Russian influences. It's bold, it's flavorful, it's full of surprises.
Okay, let's dive into some of these dishes. First up, khachapuri, which is cheese bread with an egg. I've seen pictures and it looks incredible.
Khachapuri is basically Georgia's national dish.
Yeah.
And for good reason. It's this boat-shaped bread filled with gooey melted cheese.
Yeah.
And to make it even more indulgent, they crack an egg right in the center.
Oh, wow. And what about kinkali? Are those like dumplings?
They are. Kinkalis are these juicy dumplings filled with either spice meat or vegetables. The trick is to eat them properly. You hold them by the top knot, take a small bite to sip out the flavorful broth inside, and then enjoy the rest. It's a little ritual.
I love that. And we can't talk about Georgia without mentioning the wine.
Georgian winemaking goes back thousands of years.
Yeah.
They had this ancient method called kivevri, where they ferment the grapes in clay pots buried underground. And it's not just about tradition. This method imparts this unique character to the wine. You get this earthy mineral quality you won't find in wines made using modern techniques.
Fascinating. And I can't forget about the supra, those legendary Georgian feasts.
A supra is more than just a meal. It's a celebration of Georgian culture and hospitality. You'll experience this seemingly endless stream of delicious food, flowing wine, and heartfelt toasts, led by the tamada, the designated toastmaster.
Okay, I'm officially adding Georgia to my travel list. Our taste buds are on a whirlwind tour.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we're heading to a country that's famous for its coffee. But as we're about to discover, there's so much more to explore. Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. It's a hidden gem when it comes to cuisine, often overlooked, but the flavors and the ancient traditions are incredible. Ethiopian food is all about bold spices, unique textures, and this communal dining experience that's really special.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly is injera?
Injera is a sourdough flatbread with a slightly spongy texture and a tangy flavor. It's the foundation of most Ethiopian meals. You use it to scoop up various stews and dishes, so it's very hands-on.
I see. And speaking of stews, I've heard about these wat dishes. What are those like?
Wat refers to a variety of rich, flavorful stews that are central to Ethiopian cuisine. They're usually made with berbere, which is this incredibly complex spice blend that gives the stews their heat and depth.
So what are some specific examples of these wat dishes?
We have a doro wat, which is probably the most famous Ethiopian dish. It's a rich, slow-cooked chicken stew with hard-boiled eggs, often served for special occasions. And then you have shiro wat, which is a vegetarian dream. It's made with ground chickpeas, onions, and a blend of spices.
Those both sound incredible. And of course, we can't talk about Ethiopia without mentioning the coffee.
The coffee is legendary, but experiencing a traditional Ethiopian coffee ceremony is something truly special. It's this ritualistic process of roasting the beans, grinding them by hand, and brewing the coffee in a clay pot called a jabane. It's as much about the social interaction and hospitality as it is about the coffee itself.
I'm adding that to my bucket list right now.
Okay.
This part of our culinary adventure, we're going to South Korea, but with a twist. We're moving beyond Korean BBQ and exploring the world of temple food.
Temple food. It's a fascinating contrast to that bustling street food scene and the bold flavors that South Korea is known for. It's a cuisine rooted in Buddhist principles, emphasizing simplicity, balance, and mindfulness, almost like a culinary meditation.
What are the key characteristics of temple food?
Well, first and foremost, it's entirely plant-based. No meat, fish, or eggs. It's also free from what they call the 5 pungent vegetables: garlic, onions, scallions, chives, and leeks. They're thought to stimulate the senses and hinder meditation.
So what kind of ingredients do they use?
The focus is on fresh seasonal ingredients prepared with minimal seasoning, allowing the natural flavors to shine through.
You mentioned banchan earlier, those little side dishes. Do those play a role in temple food as well?
Banchan are an essential part of any Korean meal, including temple food. But in temple cuisine, they're made with simple, natural ingredients, often pickled or fermented to enhance their flavors and make them last longer.
Interesting. So you might find things like seasoned vegetables, tofu dishes, different types of kimchi.
Exactly. all meant to complement the main dishes.
This all sounds so peaceful and grounding. I can almost picture myself in a serene temple setting savoring these dishes.
And that's exactly the experience many temples offer. You can participate in temple stays, where you'll not only taste authentic temple food, but also learn about the philosophy behind it and engage in mindfulness practices like meditation and chanting.
Wow, this is amazing. Okay, so we've explored the mountains of Vietnam, the island beauty of Tasmania, and the bustling markets of Fez. We've tasted the fusion of South Tyrol, delved into the ancient traditions of Georgia and Ethiopia, and found tranquility in South Korea.
And this is just the beginning.
I know. There's still so much more to explore.
All right, from that serenity of a Korean temple, let's shift gears a bit and head to a place known for its incredible wildlife and its vibrant food scene, Tanzania.
Tanzania, yeah. It's not the first place that comes to mind when you think culinary destination, right?
Right.
But I'm picturing those vast landscapes, the Serengeti Plains, the Spice Island of Zanzibar. I bet there are some amazing culinary experiences waiting to be discovered there.
Oh, absolutely. Tanzania's diverse geography plays a huge role in its food. The mainland obviously offers that incredible safari experience, and the food there kind of reflects that hearty, adventurous spirit.
Okay.
While Zanzibar brings in those exotic spices and coastal flavors, it's a fascinating mix.
So what are some of the must-try dishes in Tanzania? I've heard about nyama choma. Is that like barbecue?
It is nyama choma, basically means grilled meat, and it's a staple in Tanzanian cuisine. Think beef, goat chicken, even fish. All cooked over hot coals, seasoned simply with salt, pepper, maybe a touch of chili.
So simple, but so good.
Exactly. It's all about letting the quality of the meat shine through.
And what about side dishes? What would you typically eat with nyama choma?
You'll often find it served with ugali, which is a stiff porridge made from maize flour. It's a staple across a lot of East Africa. You might also have mchicha, a leafy green vegetable, kind of like spinach, and kachumbari, a refreshing salad made with tomatoes, onions, and cilantro.
Okay, that sounds like the perfect meal after a day of safari adventures.
Absolutely. And if you find yourself on the coast, you can't miss the seafood. Zanzibar especially is renowned for its fresh seafood, and the island's history as a spice trading hub has had a huge influence on the cuisine there.
Oh yeah, I bet. So what kind of unique dishes might we find in Zanzibar?
Zanzibar is like this melting pot of flavors, drawing influences from Swahili, Indian, Arab, and Persian cuisines. You'll find aromatic curries, fragrant rice dishes like pilau, and seafood prepared in coconut milk with warming spices like turmeric and ginger.
It's a true sensory experience then.
Oh, for sure. Just walking through the markets in Zanzibar is an experience in itself. The aromas of the spices are intoxicating, and if you're a spice enthusiast, you'll be in heaven. Zanzibar is known as the Spice Island for a reason. You can visit spice plantations and markets where you'll find everything from cloves and cinnamon to nutmeg and vanilla.
I'm adding Tanzania to my travel list as we speak. Okay, for our next culinary stop, we're heading to a country that's been on my bucket list forever, Chile.
Chile, the land of extremes, from the towering Andes Mountains to the Atacama Desert. And that geographical diversity is reflected in its cuisine. You'll find influences from indigenous Mapuche traditions, Spanish and European influences all blended together.
So where should we start our Chilean food adventure? What are some of the must-try dishes?
One dish that's quintessentially Chilean is pastel de choclo. It's a savory casserole made with a layer of ground beef and onions, topped with this sweet and creamy corn mixture, and then baked until golden brown. Pure comfort food.
I love corn, so that sounds amazing.
It is. And if you're a seafood lover, Curanto is a must-try. It's a traditional method of cooking seafood meat and vegetables in a pit dug into the ground.
Whoa.
They cover it with hot stones and leaves, and it slowly cooks, infusing everything with its amazing smoky flavor. It's often a communal dish shared during special occasions.
You know, that reminds me of the pachamanca we discussed earlier in Peru. It's amazing how different cultures have these shared culinary traditions, using the earth itself as an oven.
It really is. And it speaks to the resourcefulness of these cultures adapting their cooking techniques to the environment.
For sure. And speaking of traditions, we can't forget about Chilean wine.
Oh, of course, Chile is one of the world's leading wine producers, and they have an incredible range of grapes and styles. You'll find everything from crisp Sauvignon Blancs to robust Cabernet Sauvignons to elegant Carmeneres, which is a grape that's almost exclusive to Chile, and refreshing Pinot Noirs.
Wow. So many choices.
And the best part is Chilean wines are generally very affordable.
That's always a plus. Okay, our virtual taste buds are on a roll. And for our next stop, we're going back to Europe, but to a country that might surprise people with its culinary scene, Slovenia.
Slovenia often gets overlooked, tucked away between its more famous neighbors like Italy and Austria. But it's a hidden gem with a fascinating culinary identity all its own. It's where the Alps meet the Mediterranean, and you can taste that in the food.
So what kind of flavors and influences are we talking about?
Slovenian cuisine is this amazing blend of Slavic, Mediterranean, and Alpine influences. You'll find those hearty stews, dumplings, and soups that reflect its Slavic roots, but also fresh seafood and pasta dishes that hint at its proximity to the Adriatic Sea. And of course, there are those Austrian influences, especially in the pastries and desserts.
Sounds like a delicious mix. So what are some of the must-try dishes in Slovenia?
One dish you absolutely have to try is jota. It's this hearty stew made with sauerkraut beans, potatoes, and smoked meat. Perfect comfort food on a cold day. Another classic is potica, a rolled pastry filled with either sweet or savory fillings.
Yeah.
They often serve it during holidays and special occasions. It's a real testament to Slovenian baking traditions.
Okay, now I need to know about the drinks. What should we be sipping on in Slovenia?
Slovenia has a surprisingly diverse drink scene. They produce some excellent wines, particularly white wines like Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Grigio. They also have a long tradition of brewing beer.
Oh, nice.
And if you're feeling adventurous, you could try Slivovitz, a plum brandy that's a favorite throughout Slovenia and the Balkans.
Ooh, that sounds strong.
It is. It packs a punch. But it's a true taste of the region.
All right, let's continue our global food journey. Next up, we're heading to a country known for its stunning landscapes, ancient history, and of course, its delicious food, Greece.
Greece. It's a classic culinary destination for a reason. Its cuisine is beloved worldwide for its fresh flavors, simple ingredients, the emphasis on seafood, olive oil, and vegetables.
I love Greek food. It's so fresh and vibrant.
It really is. It's a cuisine that celebrates the bounty of the Mediterranean.
So what are some of those quintessential Greek dishes we should be looking out for? What are the absolute must-tries?
Well, you can't talk about Greek food without mentioning moussaka. It's that layered casserole dish made with eggplant potatoes, ground meat, and a creamy bechamel sauce.
Yes, moussaka is a classic. And what about souvlaki?
Souvlaki is a must. It's basically grilled meat, usually pork or chicken served on skewers. You find it everywhere in Greece, from street food stalls to upscale restaurants, typically served with pita bread, tzatziki sauce, and a simple salad.
Simple, but so good. Okay, what other dishes should we add to our Greek food bucket list?
If you're a seafood lover, you have to try grilled octopus. Greece has some of the freshest seafood in the world, and they grill the octopus simply with olive oil, lemon, and oregano.
It's all about letting those natural flavors shine through.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to experience the freshness of Greek ingredients is by visiting a local farmer's market. You'll find these amazing displays of colorful fruits and vegetables, fresh herbs, locally produced olive oil, and honey.
It's not just about buying ingredients, it's about connecting with the people who grow and produce them.
Exactly. It's about immersing yourself in the local culture. And one of the best ways to do that is through food. In Greece, food isn't just sustenance, it's a way of life. It's about sharing meals with family and friends, taking your time to savor the flavors, and celebrating the bounty of the land.
I love that philosophy. Okay, I'm officially convinced Greece is calling my name. Now for our next stop, we're heading to a country known for its stunning natural beauty, vibrant culture, and a cuisine that sometimes gets overshadowed by its neighbors, Croatia.
Croatia is having its moment right now, and for good reason. It's truly a hidden culinary gem, and people are finally starting to take notice. Croatian cuisine is a fascinating blend of Mediterranean, Balkan, and Central European influences.
Interesting. So what sets Croatian cuisine apart?
It's all about fresh seasonal ingredients, simply prepared. You'll find an abundance of fresh seafood along the coastline, while inland regions are known for their hearty stews, grilled meats, and amazing produce.
It's a cuisine that's very connected to the land and the seasons.
Absolutely.
So what are some of those must-try dishes in Croatia?
One dish that's quintessentially Croatian is peka. It's more of a cooking method than a specific dish, but it's a tradition that's deeply rooted in Croatian culture. It involves cooking meat, seafood, or vegetables under a bell-shaped lid that's buried in hot coals.
Wow, that sounds intense.
It is, but it results in incredibly tender and flavorful food.
That reminds me of the Curanto we talked about in Chile and the Pachamanca in Peru. It's fascinating how these different cultures have these shared culinary practices.
It's a beautiful example of how food connects us all, despite our differences.
I agree. So aside from peka, what other dishes should we be on the lookout for in Croatia?
If you're a seafood enthusiast, you have to try culinary, which is black risotto. It's a specialty of the Dalmatian coast made with squid ink, which gives it that distinctive black color and a rich, savory flavor.
Black risotto. I've heard of it but never tried it. And what about drinks? What should we be sipping on in Croatia?
Croatia has a growing wine industry, and they're producing some excellent wines, both white and red. For whites, you have to try Pušip and Malvasia, which are indigenous grapes. And for reds, Plabak Mali is the one to look out for. And if you're looking for something stronger, Rakija is a popular choice. It's a fruit brandy that comes in all sorts of flavors.
Oh, wow. So many options. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the hardiness of Tanzania, the unique flavors of Chile, and the surprising diversity of Slovenia and Greece. But our journey doesn't stop there. We have one more destination to explore before we wrap up this leg of our global food adventure, Portugal.
Portugal. It's a hidden gem on the culinary map, and it's finally starting to get the recognition it deserves. Portuguese cuisine is a reflection of its long and fascinating history, influenced by its location on the Atlantic, its Moorish heritage, and its colonial past.
What are some of the key characteristics of Portuguese cuisine?
It's all about simple, fresh ingredients cooked with a lot of heart and soul. You'll find that emphasis on fresh seafood along the coast and inland. They're known for their hearty stews, roasted meats, and incredibly flavorful sausages.
What are some of those must-try dishes in Portugal?
Well, you can't talk about Portuguese food without mentioning bagalu, which is salted cod. It's a national dish of Portugal, and they say there are over 100 ways to prepare it.
Wow, over 100 ways. That's amazing.
You'll find it grilled, big fried, even in stews and salads. And if you're feeling really adventurous and you love meat, you have to try francesinha.
Francesinha, what's that?
It's a sandwich that originated in Porto, and it's basically a heart attack on a plate. But oh, so delicious. Bread piled high with ham, sausage, steak, all covered in melted cheese, and a special tomato and beer sauce.
That sounds intense.
It is. It's a culinary experience you won't soon forget.
I bet. And what about something that highlights their unique cultural influences?
For a taste of Portugal's Moorish heritage, arroz de pato, or duck rice, is a must-try. It's a flavorful dish made with duck rice chorizo and often topped with a fried egg.
That sounds delicious. Okay, I have to ask about Portuguese wine. I know they're known for port, but what else is there?
Portugal is home to some of the world's best wines, and they're often surprisingly affordable. You definitely have to try port wine, of course, which is a sweet fortified wine from the Douro Valley. But Portugal also produces excellent dry wines like Vinho Verde, which is a light, refreshing white wine perfect for warm weather, and wines from the Alentejo region, which are known for their rich, fruity flavors.
What I love about exploring different cuisines is discovering these hidden gems, the wines, the spirits, the dishes that are unique to that place and tell a story about its history and culture.
You said it. It's about more than just the food. It's about understanding a place through its culinary traditions.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We've explored the wild beauty of Tanzania, the extremes of Chile, and the hidden gems of Slovenia, Greece, and Portugal. But our culinary adventure isn't over yet. We have one more destination to explore before we wrap things up. Ready for the final leg of our journey? Absolutely. Lead the way.
Okay, so for our final destination, we're going to a place that's often overlooked when it comes to food. But it's a region with an incredibly rich and diverse culinary heritage. The Balkans.
The Balkans. That's interesting. I don't know much about the food there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. It's kind of a hidden gem.
Yeah.
You see, the Balkans have been shaped by centuries of history.
Yeah.
Different empires and traditions converging. So you'll find influences from the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and of course those strong Slavic traditions.
It sounds like a real melting pot of cultures. So what does that translate to in terms of the food?
Balkan cuisine is all about hearty, flavorful dishes. Think slow-cooked stews, grilled meats, fresh vegetables, and lots of herbs and spices.
Okay, give me some examples. What are some must-try dishes in the Balkans?
Well, one dish you absolutely have to try is avapi. They're these small grilled sausages made from a mix of ground meats, usually beef and lamb, seasoned simply and often served with flatbread onions and kajmak, which is a creamy yogurt sauce.
I've heard of those. They sound delicious.
They are. And if you're looking for something really unique to the Balkans, you have to try birek. It's this savory pastry made with thin layers of dough filled with either meat, cheese, or spinach.
Ooh, that sounds good too.
It is. It's crispy on the outside, soft and flavorful on the inside. Another street food favorite you'll find everywhere.
What about something a little lighter? Are there any Balkan salads or vegetable dishes that we should know about?
Well, definitely. It's not all about meat and pastries. One salad you should try is shopska salad. It's super simple, but refreshing. Made with diced tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, peppers, and topped with grated Cyrene cheese.
Okay, so we've got the hearty dishes covered, the lighter options. What about drinks?
Well, the Balkans are known for their strong coffee culture. They brew this incredibly strong, flavorful coffee, often in a special pot called the jezezva. And if you're looking for something a little stronger, rakia is the go-to spirit. It's a fruit brandy, and it comes in all sorts of flavors. Plum, grape quince, apricot, you name it.
Sounds like there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the mountains of northern Vietnam to the islands of Tasmania, the spice markets of Fez, the hardiness of the Balkans. We've truly explored some unexpected culinary destinations.
It's amazing how food can open up a whole new way of experiencing a place.
I agree. So for those listening, what unexpected culinary journey are you adding to your travel list? What dish are you most excited to try? Let us know.
As you plan your next trip, think about how you want to taste the world. Be adventurous, try new things, and let your taste buds be your guide.
Well said. That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this culinary adventure, and until next time, keep exploring and keep those taste buds curious.